Welcome back to Weather for Weather Geeks, the post-Christmas edition. Hope you had a great Christmas holiday with friends and family. Our weather for Christmas Day was certainly pretty good. We had that real foggy, kind of weird Christmas Eve a couple of days ago where the fog just never broke all day, but it did turn out to be a nice day on Christmas Day. And speaking of nice days, wow, was today an overachiever or what? We got to 64 at the airport today, tying the record high on today's date, which was set in both 2016 and 1982. This was definitely a day that was a little unexpected in terms of the degree of the warmth. We expected some 60s closer to central Ohio, but the warm air got this far north and east, so we did 66 in Cleveland, 62 in Pittsburgh today, and again 64 the number at the airport, tying a record. And this comes one day after the 8th warmest Christmas on record here in our area. 52 degrees yesterday. Warmest Christmas on record back in that very warm December of 1982. It got to 66 on Christmas. So we did 52 yesterday, and this puts us almost 3 degrees above average for the month as a whole. We're displaying the high temperatures here. This number accounts for all the highs and the lows. But you get the idea. It's been a warmer than average month. And this comes on the heels of a fairly significantly colder than average month in November. This month has been much more typical of the last couple of years. We've had many, many more months that have been warmer than average than colder than average, including here in 2019. So 2019 will go into the record books with 10 warmer than average months and only 2 cooler than average months, March and November. And the warmth recently has really done a number on the snowpack across much of the eastern U.S. You really have to head up towards the U.S.-Canadian border to find much snow on the ground in the higher elevations across upstate New York and the green and white mountains in Vermont and New Hampshire and up into Maine. Yeah, there's snow there, but in most of our low elevations, the ground is pretty bare. We have a cold front off to our west this evening, but you're hard-pressed to find it just looking at the satellite picture. There's really no precipitation just yet along this front, but you look at the temperatures and it's a little easier to find where this front is. It is, of course, I'll draw it for you, right in through here, 62 in St. Louis, but 36 in Topeka this evening. This front looks kind of ominous, big temperature change, but as this front comes east, it's going to kind of lose some of its oomph, and so that kind of a temperature change is not expected to occur here, although I expect temperatures to drop a little bit tomorrow afternoon. A little bit of precipitation with this will break out late tonight into tomorrow. I'm not looking for much. Spotty sprinkles, spotty showers, first half of the day on Friday. I think by Friday afternoon, the last of these are pivoting through right around noon to 1. This is also right before the front pushes through when our warmest temperature should be. I think we'll be in the upper 50s, maybe even close to 60, and then temperature should trail back. And so it'll feel a fair amount different, I think, as a lot of people head out and about for a Friday evening, 5, 6 p.m. Be quite a bit cooler than it was 5 or 6 hours earlier, unlike today. It's still very warm out there this evening after reaching the lower 60s this afternoon. All right, so a little bit of late day sunshine tomorrow, and as high pressure builds across tomorrow night, the sky will clear. Some lingering low-level moisture and inversion, a temperature inversion overhead means fog. So this mass of cloud you see, a lot of this will be fog, I think, for Saturday morning. By Saturday afternoon, we should be in pretty good shape, up to about 50, mix of sun and clouds for Saturday, and that's the day to take down the outdoor decorations or do anything you want to do outdoors, because Sunday, while it's not going to rain every hour of the day, it's going to rain frequently enough on Sunday that I wouldn't recommend putting off any outdoor plans until that day, even though it is going to be pretty warm, upper 50s to around 60 with the rain on Sunday. Quick word about New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. No snow expected this year of any consequence anyway. Maybe there's a random flurry for New Year's Eve on Tuesday, but right now I think New Year's Day, as we ring in 2020 on Wednesday, should be a relatively uneventful day with highs near 40. The 6 to 10 day outlook, a lot of red and orange on this map. Now, I do think that we will not see much in the way of typical midwinter cold at all on the playing field through the first 3 or 4 days of January. Beyond that, some of the modeling is showing some colder air masses finally coming down right around the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th day of January. Does it look like the worst air mass in the world? No, but it may put a temporary end to this very warm pattern. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about the longer range on this video this evening. Since we've taken a week off from Weather Geeks, I want to bring you up to speed on some of the recent model trends. And this is the latest 46-day long-range European model temperature compared to average. Of course, oranges and reds are above average, blues and greens are below. As we roll this forward into January, again, the map turns less red and even some blues being introduced here during kind of the period a lot of people are heading back to school around the 5th, 6th, 7th day of of January. But does this pattern stick? And some of the latest modeling says no. Notice the warm anomalies are springing back into the east by mid-month. This is right around the middle of January. The cold centered out west, warmth in the east. Is this right? I'm not so sure, but it is a trend, and it is supported by some of our other modeling. You look at the American CFS Climate Forecast System model here, and I roll this forward again. Some of the blues, some of the cooler than average temperatures get down during that kind of late in the first week into the second week of January, but after that, the southeast ridge bounces back, and you see a lot of warmth painted for the second half of January. Well, how's our analog years? How are they doing so far this winter? What I'm going to show you is our top analog. You know, if you remember from our winter forecast, one of the ways we construct the winter forecast is, yes, we look at computer models that take us into the future, but we also look at the past. Past years that had similar conditions in the oceans and the atmosphere to this fall and early winter, and then we see how those winters played out. This is a look at the current map through today's date. Cooler than average December only for parts of the upper Midwest, parts of New England. The numbers are a little too low around here. I just told you we're at +3 now for our temperature departure, but yeah, a large swath of the country warmer than average so far in December. Now, our top analog year for our winter forecast was 2004 into 2005. So this is December 2004's map. It's not that dissimilar from this year. That December was colder in the deep south, but you'll notice all the oranges and reds in the northern Rockies and out into the plain states. That doesn't look that dissimilar from this year. Again, there's a little more cold this year in the upper Midwest, but this right here looks pretty darn similar to December of 2004. Now, what happened in January of 2005, you may ask? Well, here's a look at what happened in January 2005. Now, locally, it was a very typical January. We almost ended up at exactly average for January in 2005. But you notice there was a lot of warmth down here and out here. The cold, the kind of abnormal cold, if you will, was reserved for areas near the U.S.-Canadian border. So if January of 2020 behaves in a similar fashion to January of 2005, then we could expect a colder month, yes, here locally, but abnormally cold, significantly cold, the kind of cold we're going to remember. Seems kind of unlikely if our current analog, our top analog, continues to kind of show up and look similar to what's occurring so far this year. So January, we're going to come out with a January forecast right before the new year next week. I showed you last week the initial forecast from the National Weather Service, and I'll do my own next week in a future edition of Weather for Weather Geeks right before the new year. We'll see if those model trends continue, and we'll see if we're going to keep relying on that top analog of 2004 into 2005. In the meantime, thank you, as always, for watching on this Thursday evening. A couple of showers in our forecast for Friday, and then, we've got another pretty mild weekend, the final weekend of 2019 ahead of us, Saturday and Sunday. So I'll have an update on that on tomorrow evening's video.